Again, episode 9. How are you, Therese?
Oh my goodness. Today's been a weird day, right?
It has been a weird day, but we're here for
We're here for
it.
it. And yeah, I think that when we get into this episode, it might be weird for for everyone.
I'd say.
It wasn't really on our list. We had all these ideas of things we were like so excited to talk about last week. And then I was scrolling through Instagram and I ran across a person talking about organic food brands. And both Amber and I are really adamant about the food we put into our body, putting all the special attention, paying extra to make sure we're having organic. And I found this information about at least 10 different brands that front as organic. They were organic and hopefully still are to some degree, but they're now purchased by larger corporations.
Yeah. Not
which
good.
Sucked.
Yeah. It's always the like,
yeah. And there's some of them are like hardcore brands that like, I know, I just, you see the label and you're like, okay, I know that's safe to eat, and you just grab it. So it was kind of like a feeling of betrayal that sort of crept over me. And I reached out to Amber and I was like, oh, hell no. Like, did you know this? And then of course, we're going to be sharing with you some ideas of food you could use instead that you definitely know is organic, and it's the kind that you want to be consuming or you feel good about consuming.
Exactly. So should we start with some of these companies?
Yes. And the thing that I think is even more kind of chilling about this is when I started looking up the dates of when they were acquired. So let's start with one of the latest ones, which is Primal Kitchen. Have you ever used Primal Kitchen products?
Yes, love their salad dressings.
Totally. Now they're owned by Kraft Heinz, right?
Never buying again.
And they were acquired in 2019. When I was looking in the comments on this thread of this person who kind of compiled all these companies together, there were people in the comments who actually have experience. They worked for a small startup company that was acquired, and they said that the process is really interesting. So it's not like they're bought and then straight up changed, but what usually happens is that over a 1 to 2 year period, the major label sort of tests the product, see how well it's doing. And if they find that they're not making the profit off of it that they want, or if it's not increasing sales a lot, what they then do is after 1 or 2 years, will go in and start cost cutting on ingredients within the item. And so people will notice texture change, flavor change, things like that.
Yep. And they're probably then putting in the MSGs and the aspartames and the products to make you addicted to it, right? So that they sell more.
And cellulose. Can you tell people what cellulose is, just in case they don't know?
Like wood shavings.
Yeah, wood pulp. Wood pulp. Yeah, and they found that, I was watching a documentary that was talking about it, and they found that they could put up to 15% of wood shavings into Rice Krispies before people could notice that there was wood shavings in it.
Cringe. And it's in Parmesan cheese, like a bunch of it.
Right.
As like a filler. Lot. As a filler. Yeah. Because Parmesan, yeah.
And the FDA allows up to 4% of that.
Of course they do, because they don't care. Right. Oh, you know what else? I have to tell you this one quick. Okay. Because I'm making a reel for tomorrow for Instagram on ice cream. Like your brands, right? Like, and I grabbed the chocolate Oreo ice cream. Because I was like, I want to do it on this. And so I flip it over and I'm looking at the ingredients labels. And of course, it's a big box brand and it has propylene glycol. Propylene glycol, say that 5 times fast. Propylene glycol is put into antifreeze. It's a component of antifreeze. And they're putting that in your ice cream.
Why? I mean, I know.
We know why.
But, oh my gosh. So... okay, here's another one. This one shocked me. I told my husband, he didn't believe it, but I found out that Katy Perry purchased the Bragg's apple cider vinegar company in 2019. So ask yourself, why does a pop star need to own an apple cider vinegar company? That one hurt.
Yeah, that really hurts.
But not only that, but the guy who ran it, who started it, who created that business was a huge health proponent.
Yeah.
And so you have to wonder, like, what the, they say everybody has a price, but it's like, wow, what makes you go from being super health conscious and concerned about that to just selling it to someone who's not even in that industry at all?
I know, right? And like, what is the intent? Like, what is the intent?
Right. Because, whether you're into, conspiracy or not, Katy Perry is not on the team light. She's on the team dark side.
She's
so
definitely on the team dark side. Yeah.
And then there's this whole, if you could go down a rabbit hole of, is Katy Perry even real anymore? Right.
I just remember seeing her Instagram video of her baby room, and that was creepy.
Yeah, she didn't seem mentally healthy at all. And yet this is the person who's buying a healthcare product that many of us use and consider the standard.
Yeah.
The standard of like
standard
apple cider vinegar. Right. So that was really disappointing. All right. In 2017, Garden of Life, which was one of those where you'd see the label and you're like, okay, this is good. Yeah. They're bought by Nestle. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that doesn't surprise me, that one.
Okay, Epic Provisions, which this was a brand I've never really used, but they're the ones that have like, the animal on it. It's usually
bars.
Like meat, exactly, the meat bars. They're owned by General Mills, and they were bought back in 2016.
What's funny about that one? I had a colleague at the time who was very into the keto industry, and she actually knew them. She knew the owners, and they sold to General Mills. Yeah. Same with Lara Bar, like they sold out a long time ago.
That's right. Too. They were like 2008, so much earlier, and also to General Mills.
Yeah.
Let's see, who else could we look at here? So Burt's Bees. This one was gross. I could not believe it. So Burt's Bees back in 2007. So it's been we're getting close to 20 years that it's been sold. They were sold to Clorox.
Big red flags.
Mean, that's a huge dichotomy to me. It's like, what is Clorox doing owning an organic brand that's supposed to be like super gentle, good for the body, healthy, and then it's owned by Clorox, and it's like, what? That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
And back in 2006, Tom's of Maine, the toothpaste brand, they were bought by Colgate.
Yeah. Well, and they've always had garbage in their toothpaste and deodorant anyway. The interesting thing about some of these brands is they're heavily marketed, even back in the day, as like the best options, but you've always got to go to the ingredients label, and there's all kinds of junk in the product.
And I think about, like, I've seen Tom's of Maine at regular grocery stores like Safeway, or over here where we have Fred Meyer or Kroger. Yeah. And, these aren't places that are known for having a large organic selection. I mean, at Safeway, which is I think it's a pretty big chain. You do have Safeway. Yeah. Okay. So in our Safeway, the organic section of produce is like a wall.
It's tiny. Like, it's the worst selection.
Yeah. And you walk in that store, and like the first thing that always hits me is the cleaning agents aisle. It's like you can smell bleach. Just like it hits you as you walk in there. So the fact that Tom's of Maine was always available there, never, like, I don't know, I never went for it, but there it is. This is the one, I'm going to share the one that pissed me off the most. This is the one where I was like, no, because I would buy these products a lot, like their turkey pepperoni, and it's the Applegate Farms. Applegate Farms, supposed to be organic, no hormones, no antibiotics, really healthy, apparently. Back in 2015, it was bought by Hormel, which is like, I would say, the polar opposite of everything I thought I was getting.
It's the big thumbs down.
Oh, it's a huge thumbs down. Yeah. I mean, that's just, it makes me feel kind of sick, actually, when I think about that one. Okay. And then Coca-Cola bought both Honest Tea in 2011, which, that was a juice brand. Juice is aren't generally that healthy for you, but it was supposed to be a healthier version of juice.
Right.
And they also bought the Zico coconut water in 2013.
Right.
That one sucked because a lot of people like that product, but that's, you know, it's been years. I mean, that one's 10 years now that it's been owned by Coke.
Yeah.
Annie's Homegrown, the little bunny on it, that garbage. On a lot of the kids' products, that's General Mills since 2014.
Yeah, not surprised on that one.
And then this one, I think most people know, but I'll just add it in there. Ever since 2017, Whole Foods has been owned by Amazon. And I actually heard in that thread from previous Whole Foods employees that the minute that Amazon took over, they like totally shut things down. They said that the stores used to be really active in their communities and would give back a lot. All those programs stopped. All the little extra perks that the employees would get, like having, you know, meals given to them if they worked on holiday days and things like that, all of that stopped. They said it went from being this really like health food conscious store that they felt like they were doing a job that had purpose to feeling like they were working in a prison.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. And you know what really turned me off of that, aside from all of like knowing Amazon bought it, is Remembrance Day. They didn't want anyone wearing poppies to remember all of the veterans, all the people that have fought for our freedom, and they crushed that. No poppies, right? To me, that's one of the biggest disrespects you can pull, is to not honor, right, all these veterans that have
well, they went political. They went super political.
Totally.
And you know what's funny is we're talking about this right now. We see big brands like Bud Light and now Target's is getting all this thing because they're also going super political. And it's like, what's
Ford
interesting about it
too. Did you see the Ford commercial?
No. Ford. Oh, right. With the pride flag truck. And the thing is like what I am experiencing is most people feel the same way. Nobody has a problem with pride, gay people, anything like that. What people have a problem with is it's being shoved down their throats.
Exactly. I'm all for everybody. I love and respect people for whatever their choices are. It's about that, but don't shove
ideology.
Don't shove it down our throats, right?
Yeah, it should be available if you want to purchase it, but it shouldn't be something like you have to buy this. Push. Otherwise, you're, you know, homophobic, transphobic, people phobic, phobic of everything.
Totally.
So it's really interesting because all of these brands, which the main reason anyone would buy them is because of them being organic, because of them using ingredients that are, you know, legible, easy to understand what you're eating, or the standards of the food and how it's made is held at a higher standard. And that's why people would buy it. So the response to all this in the comments was people were livid when they were hearing about this. And the post that I found probably was made within the last year, if not this year. And so most of us are just now finding out that the brands that we thought we were supporting, which were smaller brands that were holding to standards, are not at all. It's a mask. It's like Scooby-Doo and like pulling off the mask and seeing the actual bad guy.
I'm going to pull a visual up because this will make it like really easy. Like, since we're talking about all these companies that own other things, like I just want to pull this up. It doesn't show like everything, but it'll give you a really good like visual of how owned things are by these few companies. So I'll share now. Sorry to interrupt, but like we can see, right? Like I'll move the screen, but we can see all these big key companies that own all these little sub companies, right? Like, why does Pepsi own Quaker Oats, right? And then one of my favorites is Kellogg's owns cashew, which is marketed as like such a clean, right, health alternative, but it's just full of garbage, right? So this visual to me is just such a great example of you really don't have a lot of variety. And every time a great new product gets created, but then they sell out, well, honestly, you got to just make your own.
And that's the horrible thing, right? Is we're given the illusion of variety. We're just like we're given the illusion. Well, in the past, we've been given the illusion that there are different political parties, when it's really just, it's like what we're seeing is the globalization that they're always threatening is going to happen. They've already been doing it in the background.
Totally.
Slowly, piece by piece, just conglomerating everything together. And when that happens, I mean, what, with aspartame as an example, I know you know about this one, but I think aspartame was rejected somewhere between 7 and 11 times when it went up to the FDA. And what ended up happening was that the aspartame company just kept buying the prosecutors until there was no one left to fight it.
And then they burnt down the research lab that had all the actual research and paid a bunch of people to do new research. And you can go and watch the Fed Up documentary where they talk all about it. And that was BUSH Senior was in when they did that, right? So no surprise.
Yeah. I mean, just it gets pretty dark. And what I saw in the comments where people were like, well, what do I do now? What do I do now? Tell me who to buy. So we wanted to share with you some ideas. It's not necessarily comprehensive, because as it is, as a consumer, in order to get the food that you think you're getting, you're going to actually have to do more work than maybe you're used to doing.
Yeah, because they wanted it to be convenient, and we must be open and willing to accept a bit less convenience to support longevity in our health and well-being. It should have never been made as convenient as it was. Right. So why don't we talk a bit about some things, and we can each go with our suggestions. So what I always suggest, right, when we're starting to make these changes, or you get upset because your favorite brand got bought and it's not the same anymore, is you can pick from these. Number one, if you have a local health food store, try going there and just getting to know the people that work there and asking about some of the products and saying, hey, do you sell any locally made salad dressings? Do you have any locally made produced bone broths, pizzas, meats, ice creams, whatever it is? Try and see if they can, because they should be able to say, hey, yeah, actually this plant-based ice cream is made in the province beside us, and it's right, like really good quality or whatever, right? Like you can ask, and they're pretty familiar with the vendors who they're purchasing products from. The second is source your local farmers market or place where the farmers are coming and selling the food directly to you. That's one of the first things I started to do on my healing journey. And I got to meet so many incredible farmers. They're sharing their stories with me about how they grow their carrots and why they have the best tasting carrots in the province, and how the government's trying to come after them and right. And like cross-contamination and GMOs, even though the field isn't GMO, but because the person besides is, and the wind is blowing the GMO contaminants into their crop, they're like, either you give us your land or we're going to sue you until the cows come home. You won't have anything less. So the farmers themselves are sharing these stories. It's not conspiracy theory. Like this is legitimately happening, but you get to know these farmers. They love talking to you. They want to share their stories, and you're voting directly, giving them your money. There's no middlemen. That's what we want. And you get to know all these great producers, meat, produce, baked goods, jams, like whatever it is, right? The third to me is starting to get a little more into the kitchen and making a little bit more of this stuff yourself. There are endless blogs and Pinterest and videos to make your own salad dressings, make your own jam. I have a free recipe archive with like 800 recipes. I can put the link below if anyone wants to just go sign up and like go recipe exploring, right? Like, but you know what? We have to put a bit more time and effort in, but our health does take some time and effort. Convenience does not equate to health, right? So even if we just make our own mayo, I have mayo recipes, salad dressings, right? Maybe you want to start baking your own loaves because you're realizing the ones from the store have a shelf life of 8 months and never spoil, like whatever it is, but simple ingredients, simple recipes. So you don't have to do all this at once, but just pick one, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny you said that because we were out of like a sweet Thai chili sauce that we wanted for some dumplings, and my husband just went on Pinterest, found the recipe and made it. Tasted so much better. And I was like, you know what? It feels so good to know, like, we know exactly what went into this. And it was a jar that's going to last for 2 weeks. It's like, it feels better. And he was saying it felt good to make it. Like there was this sense of like, you know, I'm proud of myself for doing it, but also like, I know that that's safe to use. I think we get so caught up in the belief that it has to be convenient because that's how we were trained to think.
Totally. And it's easy and I don't have time. And it's like, well, your health is everything. Right.
Right. And then the thing is like, unfortunately, most of us find out after the fact, right? We're going along with our life, doing what we think is right. And then we find ourselves struggling or in pain or having weird problems. Like, why am I losing hair? I don't understand why that's happening, or why, why is my abdomen always distended and swollen? What's going on there? And it's usually at that point that we start to ask questions, and then we learn what we learn. And then we, it means something to us to make a change. If you're one of those people right now where you're not feeling any detriments to your health, that's like, yay for you. And at the same time, you can get in front of that and live your life that way by putting in even more effort on your end.
100%. I agree.
I was going to say, so if you have a hard time finding a farmer's market, for example, in my direct area, we do not have a farmer's market that's coming to us yet. So I've had a hard time finding one, but I did find a service. So I know this is in Washington State. I think it is national, but I'm not sure. So check it out. But it's a service called fullcircle.com. And what that does is it pairs you with local farmers in your area. You go to a website, you can say the things you want to your brought to you, and you pay a fee, and they bring things to your door, right to your doorstep.
Love it. Love it.
Delivered
Convenient.
From local. Yeah, it is convenient. Yeah, the only thing you have to do is front load. So if you don't, they'll just gather things and give it to you, and then can be fun, or it can be like, I'm never going to use that, but you can always preload it, tell them what you want, have it delivered. They have all sorts of things, fresh produce, coffee, if you drink coffee,
totally,
all the goods, all the good things that you would want, they have that. And then what I was asking Amber about was the meat part, because I find that part to be a little bit harder. And then I was thinking, as I was asking you that, in the past, what did we do? And we went to a butcher. I mean, like an actual butcher shop. I don't know if they have them.
They do. They're not well promoted because, right, like all the big box that have taken over. But actually, I don't want to interrupt you, but I don't want to forget to share this. Something that I've noticed more in our area, more signs, and even a billboard up saying like local butcher, like grass-fed meat. So I'm starting to see more little like local signs in little communities with like farm fresh eggs, grass-fed meat. Like, so it's good. You're seeing these pop-ups, and there are companies that deliver, that you can do like a meat box, but you just want to make sure that they're sourcing local and they haven't been bought out as well.
Yeah. And one of them, and I have not used this service, but I've heard a lot about it and I hear good things. In the United States, it's called goodranchers.com. And that's another one of those services where you go in, you can pick out what you want, and then they will ship it right to your door.
Love that. Yeah. And we have one here. I have to check again, because I think someone, I don't know if they just sold, but it's called True Local, and they source from only local farmers in the province, antibiotic and hormone free meats of all kinds. And you just pick your box and it gets delivered right to your door as well. And I know there's some local farmers in the area who will do like a lamb box, a chicken box, a beef box. We have a local farmer that we fill our freezer with downstairs, and they have really good beef. And so even just do a Google search, a Facebook search. If you're in a local Facebook group in your community, ask, just say, hey, do you know local farmer, local producer? I'm looking for eggs. I'm looking for produce. I'm looking for meat. Like, can you put me in the right direction? Because more of this exists than we realize, but we have to put in a little bit of the grunt work up front to find our people. And once you do, you're good to go. And then you have everything. And what I love about this is, if we ever did have a situation occur, right, where there may be some empty grocery store shelves or certain things that we couldn't get access to, you want to know your local farmer. Because if you could call your neighbor up and be like, hey, I need you to come fill my freezer again, I'd far rather rely on that than having to go to the grocery store and them not having what I need. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally. So, totally. Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to just touch on with this was some of the arguments around it, because some people think that these organic brands being bought up by bigger companies is actually a good thing. And one of the arguments I hear about it, it means that, well, that the demand for organic is high. And so the fact that these big conglomerations want to buy these products is a sign that a lot of people are buying organic food. And I just want to hear your take on that, because I feel like
I don't agree with that. Like, I respect everyone's opinion, but it's a pattern. So essentially what I see is there's two paths. The first path is these great local people create this great product that all their family wants to buy it. And then like, wow, now I'm going to go to the farmer's market, and wow, now I'm making enough that I can get a little space. Wow, now these grocery stores are starting to buy it. Wow, I'm gaining traction. And now I have a multi-million-dollar company. And then these big companies come to you and go, oh, we want to make your profit. They make you an offer you can't resist, and you take it. And maybe you would do or don't know about the not so in support of humanity practices that these bigger companies have in their intent. But a lot of people will take the $100 million payout or the $50 million payout because they're going to be set for the rest of their lives. The other part of it, I wonder, is did some of these people grow up in these bloodlines and they were always meant to create these products and just make it look like they were selling them over when really they were just part of it all along? Who knows, right? But I can't help but think of that, because I think, look at how that is in the entertainment industry. Why wouldn't it be the same with some of the food stuff? Or maybe some of them have sold out in the middle, right?
Yeah. Or I mean, like, how did they get greenlit in the first place? I mean,
exactly.
It takes a lot of money already to start a brand that gets into a grocery store.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of small businesses that do things with food that we never hear of.
Exactly.
And yet some of these make the jump into the marketplace. So that is a really good question. We should ask that one.
Yeah. I think the faster a company goes from being a small, multi-six-figure company to a 40, 50 plus $1 million brand, you've got to be asking, okay, how did this happen? Right. Because it's not just because a bunch of people found out about it in a day.
Ooh. Okay.
Do you want to ask that first?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, good.
About that already. And so we get the 10 of Wands, which is called oppression. And you see this person already boxed in right there.
Yes.
I mean, that's definitely, there was definitely, if not an on-planet connection, there was a soul contract kind of thing going on with this person, because this talks about just kind of feeling like you can't make a better choice, overextending oneself, like you pushed it too far, is what it is. And you know what, actually, now that I'm getting that, what they're saying is it's kind of just like, it's the same thing about what we hear about people who break through in Hollywood. It's the same thing. They start out pretty normal. And there is the point at which if they're approached, there's the deal, and it's sort of the deal for the soul. And that's kind of what happens, is they're sort of selling their soul. And if you think about it, with the organic food, most of these people did create it with this intention of doing something good.
Yeah, totally.
Good for themselves, good for other people, something they could feel good about. And this deal, and often it looks like money. It's not like someone comes up and be like, give me your soul and I'll make you, but you can see it really well in that organic food model, because these are probably the very people that they were fighting against. They were like, I'm never going to eat Hormel products. That's why I created this. And then Hormel approaches them with a bananas amount of money that it's like, your entire life is taken care of from that point on. You will never have to struggle a day again. And it's so tempting. It is like, it's so incredibly tempting that very few people can actually resist it. And so that's what it shows, is like they sold the soul at some point. But as far as like them being a part of it, that doesn't come up, but it's like you get on the radar, right? So that's what happens, is most of us will go along and we're sort of under the radar, and they don't really pick up on you necessarily till you hit certain markers. And maybe you're making millions, maybe you're getting like other angel investors, smaller, but enough to get you out there. And that's when you are on the radar.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when it starts to go down. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you asked that question first. So should we ask about, because some of these more recent companies that have been purchased in the last few years, right? There's been a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Do we think that there's been any influence from the white hats buying, these smaller health-based companies to save them or prevent them from getting contaminated? And or is it just like a falsehood that these companies are being bought and we're just being exposed to more food corruption?
Oh, this is interesting. Tara by Janine, right? Mm-hmm. Like her emperor card comes up as a white hats card. It's usually Mr. T card comes up.
Oh my gosh, hilarious.
So this comes up here. It definitely has to do with physical manifestation. So this is a physical manifestation card. This person has control of physical manifestation. So there's possibility that they're also involved in this. It is to bring, again, we're at this part in time, and this was really starting in 2015, I think, is when it really kicked off, but we felt it in 2020. But this is the period where it's like it's coming to the surface. I'm going to show this to you. And the biggest point, again, it always comes back to you making a decision, because this is what it's about. It's about your free will and about your choice. Now, you know how the sausage is made, sometimes literally. Are you still going to buy it? Are you still going to eat it? Are you still going to give it your money? Because what if you are against Coca-Cola, but you love coconut water and you're buying Zico, you're actually giving your money to Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So it sucks to know that, but at the same time, if you do know that, then you are no longer under what's called implied consent, where you're purchasing this without understanding what you're purchasing, and you are supporting the very companies or ethics that you don't agree with. Mm-hmm. This is to show you that it's out there. So now, like, for example, with the apple cider vinegar, now we have to make a choice. Now we know Katy Perry owns it. She's going to get your money if you buy that product. So what are you going to do? Thanks. You've got choices now, and that's a good thing. It's good.
Yes.
It's a good thing.
And we can support another local product instead.
Exactly. And on the final note, and that's the most important part, is consent, right? So consent is huge. Mm-hmm. It's huge in energy, which is why the dark hats manipulate and play with it so much, because they need you to consent. And so when you find this out, like, for example, the Applegate Farms, I say, I do not consent to consuming this. So that's the very first thing I do when I find out something that I don't like. I don't consent to it. That changes the energy of it, and it breaks down any intent behind it to harm. As we say, no, I won't, I don't allow, that actually breaks down the energy of harm. And then the real nail in the coffin, though, is you vote with your money. The end.
The end. Vote with your dollars.
That's right.
That is the key. Support the local, find your farmers, your farmers markets, your produce boxes, your community gardens, like learn how to pickle and can your own stuff. Like pick one little thing and start exploring it. It will open up a whole new world of enjoying your food. Right?
That's right.
It truly only brings benefit. I have met so many incredible people because of the journey with food I've had. It's only a good thing.
That's right. And remember, whatever we support grows. So if we want to see more small business, more local owned, more real food, we keep voting with our money that way. Yes. And trust me, that money, it sends a very loud message. Change happens when money is involved. And if you don't believe us, just look at Bud Light and what's happening with them. It's changing everything. Yeah. So we've got more power. We got the power.
We do. It's exciting. We need to take it back, all of us.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you again for coming to another Shining the Light on. This was episode 9. Therese, where can everyone find you?
Yes, you can go to BlytheStarlight.com. That's Blythe with a Y. And you can check out what I do there. I've got my readings there. You can check out my shop. You can also follow me on Instagram and Pinterest. I'm also there. And I'd love to connect with you. And Amber, tell us what you're doing, because I know you got something big brewing.
Yeah. So if you're wanting help with this food journey, and maybe you're also dealing with like emotional eating or binge eating and bloating and gut issues and body image stuff or cravings, right? The whole meal deal. I've just launched a wonderful group program to help you with all of this. It is called Body Freedom Unleashed, and it is 7 months. And we're going to be working on helping you heal your relationship with food, your body, your digestion, your hormone health, and helping you feel safe enough so that you can, live more in your power and confidence. So I'm going to put all the details for the early bird rate as well as the early bird bonuses that are available until June 5th below. And I will also put the link to my free recipe archive below too. So if you want to go and just get some inspiration or some ideas for new things that are not bought by Heinz or Kraft, you can check that out in the description below as well. This was a good one. I really enjoyed this today. I'm glad we did too. This.
And I'm thinking like there must be recipes for how to make your own apple cider vinegar.
Oh, yes, 150%. Yeah, we'll maybe do a little digging and see what we can find. But yeah, there's recipes for everything now. So rest assured, you're covered. Awesome. Hey, everyone. Well, thank you for joining us. Be sure to share this with anyone you think would resonate. And of course, if you have any topic ideas, leave them in the comments below, and we will see you next week for another Shining the Light On.